As of right now, we know that a century ago, in the world of One Piece, there was a great kingdom that we now refer to as the Ancient Kingdom. It is strongly hinted by Professor Clover that this ancient kingdom was simply the most advanced of all the kingdoms existent back then. And when something happened, 20 kingdoms decided to turn against this great kingdom. The implication here is obvious. The ancient kingdom became too big of a threat. Let's take a look at the origins of piracy in our own world. One of the very first signs of piracy in the history of our world was put into place by Queen Elizabeth of Great Britain. And what the Queen did was basically give permission to this man called Francis Drake. He was a sailor, navigator, explorer, and the Queen gave him permission to raid any ship that belonged to an enemy nation, as well as permission to explore and uncover the confines of our world. His most noteworthy achievement was becoming the first Englishman to circumnavigate the globe. Doesn't that sound familiar? Now, in that era, late 1500s, Great Britain was the greatest power in the world, with Spain possibly posing the biggest challenge to them. Now, let's picture this scenario. Imagine that during his travels, Sir Francis Drake stumbled upon the biggest secret of our world, and that secret would allow Great Britain to solidify their superiority over every single other nation. What do you think the other kingdoms of our world would do when they found out? Yes, the most powerful of them would unite against Britain to suppress the biggest threat they had ever seen. It sounds familiar, right? There is no reason to believe that there wasn't already conflict between the kingdoms existent a century ago, which would give a justifiable reason for this great kingdom to kickstart an expedition with the aim of sabotaging other nations and finding out if there is anything in this world that can solidify their position at the top of the food chain. My hypothesis is the following. The ancient kingdom, as advanced as it was, gave a very grandiose task to a particular group of explorers. And their mission was simple. Go search for the secrets of the world, and while you are at it, destroy and raid any enemy ship you come across. I believe that after completing their travels and discovering this great secret, the survivors of this group solidified their bond and thus decided to become a family, just like Luffy, Sabo, and Ace did. As such, they agreed to start sharing a common name, a name that was to remain mysterious to those outside the inner circle of the family. And this name kept being passed down generation to generation. Yes, what I'm talking about is the name D, hence the term the will of D, the will of dreamers, the will of the discoverers. The conclusion to this is quite simple. The D's were the first generation of pirates, which makes even more sense when you think about the fact that the 20 kingdoms that defeated the ancient kingdom later on became the world government. It is only natural then for the very origin of pirates to belong in that great kingdom. Joy Boy had made a theory that the ancient kingdom was essentially the birthplace of pirates. In his theory, his main conjecture was that the ancient kingdom was a kingdom of pirates, right? And the theory I'm presenting to you guys sounds very, very similar to that one. The difference is that Joy Boy believes that the ancient kingdom was a kingdom of pirates, whereas I believe that while achieving their goal, the ancient kingdom gave birth to piracy through a small group of explorers. You can look at my theory as just another way to reach a similar conclusion, but the differences are there. And also something important to point out is that Joy Boy's theory explains the where. It explains where pirates were born. My theory or my hypothesis explains, or at least gives you an idea of where, why, and how. Where were pirates born? They were born, or they were originated in the ancient kingdom. Why they were originated? Because the rulers of the ancient kingdom sent a group of explorers to find the secrets of the world, and in the meantime, they had the responsibility to attack any enemy ship, which is a key act of piracy. And that also leads you to the answer of how they were born. What does this theory explain, right? As I said, it explains how pirates came about in this world that Oda built. It explains what significance they had, and it provides a reasonable speculation for who was the family of these. It also explains this inherited hate that the world government feels for pirates, as well as their attempts to try to demonize pirates. I bet they would even say that those with the will of D have the will of the devil. Moreover, this also provides a reasonable explanation to why the world government is legitimately scared of those who carry the name D. Hear me out. Despite having defeated the ancient kingdom, they never figured out where the D's found that secret. Right? So the D's and the great ancient kingdom may have been defeated, but my idea is that they succeeded in hiding that at least the location of that great secret that they had found. And now the world government must be certain of something. I think that if we put ourselves in the position of the world government, our train of thought would go like, okay, even though all the people with the name D that we currently see and have found in the world, even though they don't have a clear idea of their legacy, even though they have no clue what the name stands for, if the D's were capable of finding that secret in the past, if they had the skill to find that secret, we are more than sure that the D's that we have in our current world can also achieve the same thing. In other words, what I'm saying is that the world government must be certain that if the D's were once able to find that great secret, then most definitely they'll be capable of finding it again. What ideas or theory does this one contradict? The main one I can think of is the idea that the ancient kingdom was a peaceful kingdom. That basically they were the good guys, right? But you need to have in mind that if my hypothesis is correct, then neither the ancient kingdom or the 20 kingdoms were good or evil. The ancient kingdom did something that any nation in a position of power would do. The same way that the 20 kingdoms reacted in a way that any group of nations would react if they felt that their existence was being threatened. The conflict between the ancient kingdom and the world government, yes, it had to be due to a difference in ideals, but ever since the beginning of time, different nations have always had different ideals. But when one nation gathers undisputed power that allows them to spread that ideal, that's how wars are born. That's how conflict is born. Right? So, I think that if Oda followed this direction, it would result in a far more compelling story. I think that just having things black and white, as in the ancient kingdom where the good guys and the 20 kingdoms were a bunch of assholes who just wanted to destroy the ancient kingdom, I think that's kind of boring, that's predictable. But if you have both sides with an understandable position, it makes things way juicier. It makes things way more interesting, right? Next, I want to move on to what questions does this theory bring to light? The first question that arises is, what did those explorers find? What was that great secret that they found, if the theory is correct? I only see two possible answers. Number one, the devil fruits, where they are originated. Number two, they found an access to weapons of mass destruction, those being the three ancient weapons. But in particular, I'd say Uranus and Poseidon. And I'm kind of excluding Pluton from that list because Pluton is said to be man-made. And I honestly think that implies that Pluton was built to face a massive threat. What I'm trying to say is that if what the deities found was the devil fruits, for example, then the other kingdoms, in order to even stand a chance, they needed something that had to be capable of massive destruction. I believe that the 20 kingdoms were the ones responsible for Pluton's creation. Now you may ask, okay, but why is then Pluton's blueprint or Pluton's location, why did the ancient kingdom include that information in the poneglyphs? Well, my response to this is the following. While at war with the 20 kingdoms, someone in the ancient kingdom was not only able to figure out a blueprint of this colossal warship that Pluton is, but they were also able to leave a hint to how to find its location, and that's what Robin truly knows. She doesn't know exactly where it is, but she knows how to find it, right? I think she doesn't know Pluton's exact location. I just think if she wants to find it, she knows where to gather the clues or where to gather the pieces of information that will reveal the true location of that ancient weapon. And in order to get there, she needs to learn more. I know most of you believe that all of the ancient weapons probably belong to the ancient kingdom, yet the 20 kingdoms needed to have something that allowed them to defeat the ancient kingdom. And a weapon of massive destruction is what makes sense the most. Where did they find it? Where did those explorers find their great secret? Again, I can only see two possible answers. Number one, the island at the end of the New World, which is confirmed not to be Raftel. And number two is Raftel itself. If it's the island at the end of the New World, well, it only makes sense that finding out where devil fruits are originated will be one of the last steps before finding the treasure of One Piece. If they found that treasure, or if they found, let me correct myself. If they found a great secret in Raftel, then One Piece may be what gives birth to devil fruits. Think about it. That is very plausible. Rayleigh, when asked by Robin, well, what when Rayleigh was asked by Robin what the Roger pirates found, right? He had a very straightforward answer for her. He basically said, I'd rather you find out on your own so you can reach your own answer, meaning what you think you should do with the secret you find may be different from the choice we made. Imagine this. Imagine you are Roger and company, you reach Raftel, and you find out that the One Piece is truly what gives birth to these fruits that imbue you with crazy abilities. What would you do? Would you tell the world? Or would you use its power? Assume that it's not possible to destroy it. Assume that you find that and you recognize it as a big threat to the existence of the species, right? But you just know that you're not capable of destroying it. So you have two options. You tell the rest of the world, or you keep a secret, right? So there are several questions that come when we think about that. Would you tell the world? Would you use its power? What